The boat to France carried a 13-year-old boy and his brother in 1977. Djimon Hounsou left Benin with his parents' dreams tucked in his heart. School was waiting. Opportunity was calling. A better life was just across the water. He had no idea he was sailing toward hell. Within months, everything collapsed. The French education system spat him out. No student status meant no legal right to work. No work meant no food. No documentation meant constant fear of deportation. Paris became his prison. For 3 brutal years, maybe 4, he lived like a ghost in one of the world's most beautiful cities. While tourists snapped photos of romantic bridges, he curled up underneath them. Stone was his bed. Hunger was his alarm clock. Winter nights dropped below freezing. He had no coat, no blanket. Sometimes police would arrest him just so he wouldn't die of cold in a cell. That's how bad it got. Jail was mercy. During the day, he hunted for scraps. Restaurant dumpsters became his grocery store. He learned which bakeries threw out yesterday's bread, which cafes left their trash unlocked. He competed with rats for crusts. But the hunger wasn't the worst part. The worst part was being invisible. People crossed streets to avoid him. A black homeless teenager in 1970s Paris wasn't just poor. He was dangerous in their eyes, dirty, disposable, something to step over and forget, and always the fear. Immigration police prowled the streets. One wrong move meant deportation. So he stayed hidden, stayed silent, a child forced to live like a criminal just for existing. This wasn't supposed to be his story. He should have been in school, playing football with friends, dreaming about his future. Instead, every morning was a question. Will I eat today? Will I survive until tomorrow? Then, in 1987, a photographer saw something different. Not a problem to solve, not a mess to clean up. A face, a presence, something striking beneath the dirt and desperation. That photographer introduced him to Thierry Mugler, the famous fashion designer. Mugler looked at this street survivor and saw potential, pulled him off those bridges, put him on runways instead. By the late 1980s, Djimon was walking shows in Paris and London. The same streets that had been his nightmare became his stage. Music videos followed: Madonna, Janet Jackson, Paula Abdul. In 1990, he moved to America with a new dream burning in his chest. He wanted to act. Steven Spielberg gave him his first real chance in 1997. Amistad. Djimon played Cinqué, an enslaved African fighting for freedom. The performance was electric, raw, real, because he knew exactly what it felt like to be treated as less than human. Golden Globe nomination followed, but the Oscars ignored him. They saw a charity case, not a real actor. Someone Spielberg plucked from nowhere who'd probably disappear back to nowhere. He proved them wrong. Gladiator in 2000. Unforgettable as Juba. Then 2004 brought his first Oscar nomination for In America. A Nigerian father with AIDS fighting to protect his family. Every scene carried the weight of his own survival story. 2007. Second Oscar nomination for Blood Diamond. A fisherman caught in war's crossfire. 2 nominations. The 4th African-born male actor ever recognized by the Academy. 25 years later, he's been in everything. Guardians of the Galaxy, Aquaman, Shazam, A Quiet Place Part 2, blockbuster after blockbuster, red carpet after red carpet.
Well, actually, the first time we did it, I really enjoyed the character. I really enjoy all he has to say, and he was looking for a champion, and finally found one. Happens to be a young man, but yeah, I really did enjoy the first time, the first one, and so Fear of the Gods was absolutely welcome, and really, it was quite a joy finding the cast again, and more importantly, also the same director, right, and producers, and yeah, so it was quite a joy.
And in January 2025, at age 60, he told CNN something that should shock everyone. "I'm still struggling to make a living." 2 Oscar nominations, quarter-century career, major blockbusters, and he's still struggling financially. "I've been in this business making films for over 2 decades with 2 Oscar nominations, been in many blockbuster films, and yet I'm still struggling financially. I'm definitely underpaid." He told The Guardian the brutal truth. "I feel tremendously cheated. I've come up with people who are absolutely well off and have very little of my accolades. So I feel cheated, tremendously cheated, in terms of finances and in terms of workload." Think about that. White actors with half his credentials live comfortably. Meanwhile, he's still fighting for fair pay, still getting lowballed, still having to prove his worth after 2 Oscar nominations and hundreds of millions in box office success. The same system that let him starve under bridges is still undervaluing him today, just with better lighting and red carpets. But here's what makes Djimon extraordinary. He transformed his pain into purpose.
He's right at the center of the second part, and all the rebels come together as a unified sort of like a tool to really combat the Imperium. I mean, evidently, as a fragment, as we all represent a fragment of ourselves, and in that world, you can't really do much, and you can't achieve much, and you can't really win, any fight unless you come together. And this becomes the embodiment of a stone, in which it's better, a lot easier than fighting with the sand than fighting with a stone. Do you understand the analogy? I mean, we become such a powerful unit, to combat the Imperium. Well, the character's main objective is certainly to redeem the past. Yes, it's the world that we cannot see and cannot touch, but we can only sort of like fathom in our creative mind. And this was all created in the mind of Zack Snyder, and so we're only living. Of course, I can relate to my character, given the fact that the story speaks volume of the political tentacle that's been holding the continent of Africa back for centuries.
In 2008, he testified before the U.S. Senate for the Runaway and Homeless Youth Act, shared his street story to help kids facing what he faced. In 2009, he spoke at the UN about climate change devastating developing nations. In 2019, he created the Djimon Hounsou Foundation to reconnect the African diaspora with their roots. He's fighting for every kid still sleeping. Catch Djimon Hounsou as he stars in the latest Hollywood blockbuster flick called Trash. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
How you doing, Mr. Hounsou? I was right, too. Beautiful bike you got. Huh?